happened to do a presentation at Gallaudet University back in 2007 and said, you know, we've got this funny little idea that with digital techniques, we can now send ones and zeros, characters perhaps, in addition to the audio itself. And they said, great, let's go do it. So we're in the midst of doing it. In 2008, the very first nationwide caption radio broadcast was conducted by NPR with a number of our member stations on election night. We showed the viability of that, and the new digital satellite receivers that will support that will be rolling out this summer. We've also been successful at getting an international standard that is now out for ballot at the International Telecommunications Union to support this. And I'm happy to report that we're in conversations with the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to roll out captioning on a regular basis starting as soon as this fall. Naturally, that would be an interoperable service both on radio as well as on IP wired and wireless distribution platforms. Our second project is all about personalization. And we call it the Personalized Audio Information Service. What it does is it adds XML tags into the audio overhead that identifies what this topic is about for each and every story that would be broadcast. Now, we happen to do this with the radio reading services for the blind. There are about 100 of them around the United States. And they read today's books, newspapers, and magazines under a copyright exemption in the Copyright Act of 1976. So we've demonstrated this with some heads-up manufacturers. Dice Electronics built the prototypes for us, and we worked with a couple of other key technology providers. And there's a base menu of about 109 categories, so whatever your flavor of sports, news that you're absolutely rabid about, there's probably a category for you that could be supported by this, and you can soak up all of that information. We made a lot of work through an iterative series of tests with hundreds of blind users to make sure that the navigation and the voice prompts worked as we would all like them to. But last and not least is actually a culmination of the other two, and this was an idea that came to us from a group of users, and this is the part about feeling the power of radio, literally. So there's a technologist at the Helen Keller National Center who said, you know, as long as you're doing captioning, we in the deafblind community would like to be able to use it in Braille. And, you know, we sort of smacked our forehead and the light bulb went off and we said, well, of course we could probably do that. Of course we can port it to the refreshable electronic Braille devices. So we're now working on that project with the Helen Keller National Center with support from the National Federation of the Blind that is very proactive on Braille literacy, and they're in just the second year of that project. But we've learned from these projects that they all tend to reinforce each other. And as Mike was saying, if you've got accessible operating systems that can talk to each other, more and more of these things tend to resemble each other. So we'd like to put pace functionality into the Braille device, into the caption radio device. And of course, radio is historically a key medium, if not the medium of choice during times where safety of life and property are at stake as the wildfire or the tornado is approaching. So those will be key features of these new kinds of services. As Susan and Helena were talking about, we are aging into disabilities as we get older, and perhaps through these initiatives, perhaps it'll be like the space program or TV captioning or the ADA, where we can all enjoy the benefits of Tang, Velcro, audio-free TV and sports bars, curb cuts for our baby strollers and our grocery carts, and soon on-demand topic-based information in the sensory medium of your choosing. And I think Sting is now just down the street at the next stoplight. But he shouldn't be here before Jake gets a chance to talk. Thanks a lot.
Our next speaker is right on the wall, at least his company. So Jake has an interesting story. He's listed as Livio's guru, although he's actually the head of the whole company. But what he did is with a $10,000 loan from his parents and a passion for music, Jake founded his company in the guest bedroom of his home in Ferndale, Michigan. Today, Sigal is an established visionary and innovator. At only 28 years old, is the CEO of Livio Radio with over 20 successful products available on the market. and now he's 29. Prior to launching Livio, he worked as a professional DJ and a product developer for Newmark, where he invented the original ION USB turntable, which is designed to facilitate the conversion of vinyl records to CDs or LPDs. We used to call them long-playing records, although I know people do call them vinyl records. But I had lived in Canada for a while, and I was used to the term LP. And I came back, and all of a sudden I was looking for them, and I couldn't find them anyplace. And they said, "Do you mean a vinyl record?" And I was like, so it's interesting how quickly the lingo changes in the technology field. He was also a product line developer for Delphi's Consumer Electronic Group, where he was responsible for producing the XM brand satellite radio products. He holds a master's degree in engineering from Ohio University and sits on the university's Ross College of Engineering Board of Advisors. He's also a board member of the Consumer Electronic Association Small Business Council. So Jake, come on up and tell us about what's new on the market, and especially with how being a DJ nowadays is, because I understand you still do that.
Thank you, and it's great to be back here. I remember in 2008, when I started the company, I really didn't have much of a vision, and then in 2009 was, I believe it was the first time we did the Silver Summit, and right, 2009, and it's really grown. It's great to see it, and before I get started, I wanted to say thank you to everyone involved with the Silver Summit organization, with Robin, Linda, and Susan. You know, all the hard work and your team has been great, and all these people, I mean, we would not all be here without your guys' work, so thank you. So, Livio Radio, more music, less work. Who here likes music? Yay, everyone likes music. Well, I like music too, and music has been part of my life and part of my parents' life and their parents' lives, and that's something that I think that doesn't go away. And my mission is to allow access from grandparents to grandkids to more music. And as music's gone digital, and as mentioned earlier, I was involved with vinyl transformation to CD, and then I was involved in CD transformation over to satellite, and now it's satellite to internet. It's got to be accessible. It's got to be easy to use. So this is these are my parents, Bernie and Rita, and the solution to this wasn't one of my products. It was a Logitech Universal Remote, but I think that everyone in the room can relate to this. Even my wife has who's also 29, has a hard time getting the television turned on, and it's really due to the fragmentation of technology, which means there's so many different options. It's kind of like overload. It's like Wikipedia and Google crammed into one thing, except there's buttons and plugs, and it's really a pain. On the music side, it hasn't changed from the feelings. So, from going from my pad to the iPad, I think that the idea is still there, which is you want to have access to your music when you want it. And there are different devices, and those devices change. So at Livio, we focus on the music from where the broadcaster is into people's ears. And one thing that we just announced yesterday is a multi-year exclusive partnership with a new provider called Grooveshark. If you haven't heard of them, you probably will. And I do have copies of that release if anyone's interested from the press. But the point of that is, again, another step to make music accessible. Our current partners include NPR, Pandora, Radio Time, Receiva, and we've just added Grooveshark, and we've announced that yesterday. The future of technology, I don't know. I think that it's kind of up in the air, but we do know that music's going to be there. And what I wanted to talk about is really what to watch. These are the main important things. So voice control, it's going to be big. It already is big, and we do a lot of work in the vehicle. We launched an application called the Car Internet Radio application by Livio. It's available now for free in the iTunes store. So if you have an iPhone 4 or 3, you can whip it out now and start downloading and give me a 5-star rating. I'd really appreciate that. Expect to see voice control from us and from other providers, whether it's on the app directly, or it's in a vehicle, or it's in the home environment. You're going to be seeing voice control. In fact, it's probably already there. If you have an iPhone 3GS running the OS 4 system or an iPhone 4, if you press and hold that center button, which it's amazing. So many people I know have iPhones, and as Mike May mentioned earlier, a lot of people don't realize that technology is built in. If you press and hold that center button on your phone, it'll actually beep and ask you what you want to do. I don't know if you may not know that as an iPhone user, and half of my staff didn't even realize that until I explained it, which was surprising. But it's true. A lot of people as users and even some product developers don't realize that. But voice control is coming in hardware and in software. Text to voice. This is, I have a safe driving video I like to show, but I don't think we have it loaded up here. it's really important for safety in vehicle, and one of my main focuses is internet radio for the car, and that is directly